Do you know some of your favorite NBA stars were born with rare conditions? From Isaiah Austin, whose dream was cut short by Marfan syndrome.
My limbs are extra flexible. And then one doctor just randomly asked me like if I've ever heard about Marfan syndrome.
To Lance Allred, the league's first legally deaf player.
Show you, when I was 12, 13, he still could barely understand me. And the kids would make fun of me all the time.
In this video, we're looking at NBA players who overcame physical challenges to leave their mark on the game. Isaiah Austin. Standing at an imposing 7'1" with the agility of a much smaller player, Austin seemed destined for NBA stardom during his collegiate career at Baylor University. His exceptional play earned him recognition as one of the top prospects in the 2014 NBA draft, with scouts marveling at his unique combination of size, skill, and basketball intelligence. But basketball, like life itself, has a way of delivering unexpected plot twists when you least expect them. As Austin prepared for what should have been the culmination of years of dedication and sacrifice, the NBA's pre-draft medical evaluations would reveal a secret his body had been keeping from him his entire life.
You work out the combine, you know you got to go through every team doctor. As I'm going through the team doctors, everybody's like, have you had any major injuries? And at that time I only had my shoulder, so they was checking on my shoulder, but then they started checking on my knees and everything, because I ain't never had no knee injuries or anything.
The medical examinations that should have been routine suddenly took an unexpected turn.
My limbs are extra flexible. And then one doctor just randomly asked me like if I've ever heard about Marfan syndrome. And I was like, nah, I ain't never heard about that.
Marfan syndrome is a genetic disorder affecting connective tissue throughout the body, but its most dangerous manifestation occurs in the cardiovascular system. For athletes, particularly those engaged in high-intensity sports like basketball, the condition can cause life-threatening complications, including aortic enlargement and the risk of sudden cardiac events. What followed was a whirlwind of confusion and hope that would ultimately lead to heartbreak.
Like, what is that? NBA calls me and they're like, yo, a couple teams want to ask you, if you have Marfan syndrome, do you mind getting a blood test? I'm like, shit, I don't know what that is. Like, sure, I'm cooking.
The timing couldn't have been more cruel.
It gets to June 21st. The draft is June 26th this year. I'm thinking it's a regular day.
But even as he maintained his routine, something felt different.
Eat breakfast. I'm on the court ready to go by 7 a.m. And my high school coach, Coach Wright, and like the whole time I'm working out, I can kind of feel something's a little off.
When the diagnosis was confirmed, the NBA ruled Austin ineligible due to the risk of sudden cardiac issues, effectively ending his professional basketball aspirations in America. However, in a gesture that demonstrated the league's class and compassion, the NBA gave him a ceremonial draft selection in 2014, with Commissioner Adam Silver calling his name in one of the most emotionally charged moments in draft history. Austin's story didn't end there, though. Refusing to let his condition define him, he played professionally overseas, including stints in Serbia and Lebanon, carefully managing his condition while pursuing his passion. He also became an advocate for Marfan syndrome awareness and worked with the NBA as a motivational speaker and coach, transforming his personal tragedy into a platform for helping others understand and cope with similar challenges. Mamadou N'Diaye. Standing at an almost incomprehensible 7'6", Mamadou N'Diaye's physical presence alone was enough to stop traffic and turn heads wherever he went. But the very thing that made him such a compelling basketball prospect, his extraordinary height, was also the symptom of a medical condition that threatened not just his career, but his life itself. N'Diaye's journey to basketball prominence began in Senegal, where his towering frame caught the attention of scouts despite the limited basketball infrastructure in his homeland. When he arrived in the United States, the hope was that he would develop into a defensive force capable of altering games simply through his presence in the paint. What doctors discovered, however, was far more complex than anyone had imagined. The cause of N'Diaye's extraordinary height wasn't simply genetic good fortune. It was the result of a pituitary tumor that was producing excessive amounts of growth hormone, a condition known as gigantism. This wasn't just affecting his height, it was threatening his vision and could have had far more serious consequences if left untreated.
My symptom was headache. My eyes started seeing like a little bit blurry, and then something happened and then I was bleeding a lot from my nose. And after that we end up here and see Dr. Kelly.
We did the surgery here at Pacific Neuroscience.
The complexity of N'Diaye's situation cannot be overstated. Here was a young man whose physical attributes had opened doors to opportunities he never could have imagined back in Senegal. Yet those same attributes were the manifestation of a serious medical condition. The surgery to remove the tumor was not just about preserving his basketball career, it was about preserving his health and potentially his life. Following successful treatment, N'Diaye was able to pursue his basketball dreams at UC Irvine, where he became a defensive force, using his massive frame to protect the rim and alter shots. His college career was marked by impressive shot-blocking numbers and the kind of defensive presence that coaches dream about. The journey from Senegal to the U.S. was facilitated by a basketball scout who recognized his potential despite his medical challenges, showcasing how his story transcended typical athletic narratives to become one of international cooperation and medical intervention. He eventually had a brief stint with the Golden State Warriors and played in the G League, proving that with proper medical care, even the most serious conditions need not end athletic dreams. Moving forward, let's tell you about NBA player whose heart beats on the wrong side, Randy Foye. In the world of professional athletics, where every aspect of physical performance is analyzed, scrutinized, and optimized, Randy Foye presented doctors and trainers with something they had never encountered before. Born with a condition so rare that it affects only 1 in 10,000 people, Foye entered the world with situs inversus totalis, a condition where major organs are completely mirrored from their normal positions. Imagine for a moment the confusion of medical professionals when they first examined Foye. Were they expected to find his heart on the left side of his chest, it beat steadily on the right. His liver, typically found on the right side of the abdomen, had taken up residence on the left. It was as if his entire internal anatomy had been reflected in a mirror, creating a functional but completely inverted internal landscape. The remarkable aspect of Foye's condition wasn't just its rarity, but how little it seemed to affect his athletic performance. While other players on this list battled conditions that directly impacted their ability to compete, Foye's situs inversus had virtually no effect on his basketball capabilities. In fact, the condition was only discovered during a routine medical examination, likely leaving everyone involved stunned by the revelation. But Foye's story extends far beyond his unique anatomy. His childhood was marked by tragedy that would have derailed many young lives.
My father died in a motorcycle accident. He was coming off the ramp to the exit of our house, speeding, going too fast, ran into the back of a vehicle, and his head went through the back windshield.
The pain of losing his father at such a young age was compounded by an even more devastating blow just 3 years later.
I remember graduating from kindergarten. We had the ceremony in Dr. Emma Flagg's school, and I could just remember my mom's there with a flower dress on, just cheesing, smiling away, happy as ever, like I was graduating college. And I remember we went out to eat after that, and all of a sudden, I didn't see it for a long time.
The confusion and fear that followed would haunt young Randy for years.
Like, man, what's going on? Asking my grandmother, no one would ever say anything. Then I would see detectives come to the house, police officers always come to the house. You know, usually if cops come to the house, or if cops come, it's like, oh, turn the music down, you're being too loud, or something bad happened.
The trauma of not knowing what happened to his mother created an atmosphere of constant anxiety. Despite these overwhelming personal challenges and his unique physical condition, Foye carved out an impressive 12-year NBA career from 2006 to 2017. He played for multiple teams, including the Minnesota Timberwolves, Denver Nuggets, and Brooklyn Nets, averaging 10.3 points per game and establishing himself as a reliable guard known for his clutch shooting ability. Foye adapted seamlessly to professional basketball, proving that sometimes the most significant differences are the ones that matter least. His story stands as a testament to resilience in the face of both physical uniqueness and personal tragedy. After Foye, let's tell you about Lance Allred. In a league where communication is paramount, where split-second decisions are made based on called plays, defensive switches, and constant verbal coordination, Lance Allred faced a challenge unlike any other NBA player before him. As the first legally deaf player in NBA history, Allred navigated a world of professional basketball while dealing with 75 to 80% hearing loss, a condition that resulted from complications at birth due to REH factor incompatibility. But as Allred himself would be the first to tell you, the hearing loss was just the beginning of his challenges.
The initial, if you want to call it a disability, the hearing loss, isn't the biggest challenge. It's actually the the side effects, like the obsessive compulsive disorder, through religious dogma, and the self-esteem issues that arise. I think those are the bigger challenges than the actual disability
The
itself.
psychological battles that Allred fought were perhaps more daunting than any physical limitation. Growing up, communication was a constant struggle that affected every aspect of his social development.
When I was 12, 13, he still could barely understand me. And the kids would make fun of me all the time. And so I know how scary it is to put yourself out.
The cruelty of children struggling to understand difference created deep wounds that would take years to heal. What makes Allred's journey even more remarkable is how he channeled his struggles into motivation. His drive to succeed wasn't just about athletic achievement. It was about proving wrong every person who had ever doubted his capabilities, and perhaps more importantly, proving to himself that his worth wasn't determined by others' perceptions. But success, when it finally came, brought its own unexpected challenges.
15,000 people, and they're all cheering and everything. I remember standing there and I'm thinking, is this it? Is this the best that it gets? Because, you know, reality can never live up to our fantasies and expectations. Because the thing is, I've been so driven to prove people wrong and to earn God's love that when I got there, I thought I'd be fulfilled.
Allred's NBA career was brief but historic. 3 games with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2008, but his impact extended far beyond those limited minutes on the court. He had enjoyed a successful college career at Weber State and went on to play in the G League and internationally, proving that determination could overcome even the most significant communication barriers. Following his playing career, Allred became a motivational speaker and author, using his platform to advocate for deaf athletes and help others understand that disabilities need not define limitations. His book, Long Shot, details his journey of overcoming discrimination and physical limitations, offering hope and inspiration to countless others facing their own seemingly insurmountable challenges. Gerald Green. In basketball, the shooting hand is sacred. Every aspect of a player's offensive game, from delicate touch on free throws to the precise rotation of three-point attempts, depends on the intricate coordination between fingers, wrist, and arm. So when an 11-year-old Gerald Green lost most of his right ring finger in a childhood accident involving a ring caught on a basketball hoop, it seemed like a cruel cosmic joke that would forever limit his potential on the court. But Gerald Green wasn't just any 11-year-old. He was a young athlete with an indomitable spirit and an almost supernatural ability to adapt. Rather than allowing the loss of his finger to end his basketball dreams, Green developed a shooting style that not only compensated for his missing digit, but actually seemed to enhance his already considerable abilities. What followed was one of the most unlikely success stories in NBA history. Green became a high-flying guard forward who would eventually win the 2007 NBA Slam Dunk Contest, a competition that celebrates the very athleticism and hand-eye coordination that many assumed would be compromised by his injury. The irony was beautiful. A player with only 9 functional fingers had conquered a competition that demanded the ultimate in manual dexterity and body control. Green's professional career spanned an impressive 12 NBA seasons from 2005 to 2019, during which he played for teams including the Boston Celtics and Houston Rockets. Throughout his career, his disability was so well integrated into his playing style that many fans and even some opponents were unaware of his missing finger. Green's approach to adversity extended beyond his personal challenges to his philosophy about team dynamics and external criticism.
Half the people that's writing that never played basketball before. So a lot of times we just focus on ourselves so I can do extra work.
Green's athleticism and adaptability made his disability nearly imperceptible on the court, with his dunking ability earning him widespread acclaim and proving that sometimes what makes you different can become your greatest strength. His story serves as a powerful reminder that perceived limitations are often just opportunities waiting to be reimagined. The next on our list is Davis Bertans. In the basketball world of Latvia, where winter days are short and opportunities for young athletes are often even shorter, Davis Bertans discovered early that precision and dedication could overcome almost any obstacle. But when he was just 13 years old, a woodworking accident cost him about half an inch of his right ring finger, creating what should have been a devastating setback for a young player whose future would depend on shooting accuracy. The cruel irony of Bertans' situation cannot be overstated. Here was a teenager whose basketball dreams centered around becoming an elite shooter, yet he had suffered an injury to the very finger that would be crucial for providing the touch and rotation necessary for consistent three-point accuracy. In most cases, such an injury might have redirected a young athlete toward other positions or even other sports entirely. Instead, Bertans chose to view his injury as a challenge to overcome rather than a limitation to accept. Through countless hours of practice and adaptation, he developed a shooting technique that not only compensated for his shortened finger, but actually became one of his greatest assets. The results speak for themselves with stunning clarity. Bertans went on to play 9 NBA seasons from 2016 to 2025, establishing himself as an elite three-point shooter for teams like the San Antonio Spurs and Washington Wizards. His career three-point shooting percentage consistently hovered around 40% or higher, a mark that places him among the most accurate long-range shooters in NBA history. What makes Bertans' achievement even more remarkable is the level of precision required for three-point shooting in the modern NBA. Today's shooters must be capable of making shots from increasing distances, often while closely guarded, and frequently off the dribble or catch-and-shoot situations that demand split-second accuracy. The fact that Bertans not only succeeded, but excelled in this environment while missing part of his shooting finger demonstrates an almost superhuman level of adaptation and skill development. The next NBA player proved that sometimes the most profound stories of overcoming adversity are also the most quietly told. Olden Polynice. Olden Polynice's severe childhood foot deformity required extensive medical intervention during his early years. While the specific details of his condition remain largely private, the impact it could have had on an aspiring basketball player is clear to anyone who understands the fundamental importance of footwork in the sport. Basketball, more than perhaps any other major sport, demands incredible agility, balance, and foot speed. Players must be capable of sudden directional changes, explosive jumps, and the ability to maintain balance while being contacted by opponents. For someone dealing with significant foot problems during their developmental years, the path to professional basketball would seem nearly impossible. Yet Polynice's response to his physical challenges was to quietly go about the business of becoming one of the most durable and consistent centers of his era. His 15-season NBA career from 1987 to 2004 saw him play for teams like the Seattle Supersonics and Los Angeles Clippers, where he averaged 7.8 points and 6.7 rebounds per game. What made Polynice's career even more impressive was his reputation as a reliable, hard-working player who could be counted on night after night. In an era when load management wasn't a consideration and players were expected to suit up regardless of minor aches and pains, Polynice exemplified the blue-collar work ethic that defined basketball in the 1990s and early 2000s.
I like the way the game is played now to a certain extent. I don't like the 150
no defense
games, but I like the openness of the game to where you have the space to create. I do love that.
His perspective on the modern game reflects the values that made his own career possible. His passion for the game and respect for the fans comes through clearly when he discusses players who sit out healthy.
It's not fair to the fans at all. Somebody save up all their money to watch you play. You coming into town that one time, and you decide you're not going to play that. But there's nothing wrong with you. You're on the sideline dancing.
right.
Oh, that pisses me off.
Polynice's condition has been described as an underreported aspect of his journey, with fans and analysts praising his durability as a journeyman big man who overcame significant early challenges to carve out a long and successful career. His story reminds us that not all victories are dramatic. Sometimes the greatest triumph is simply showing up day after day and doing the work. Next is the story of a man who defied anatomy, DeJuan Blair. In the pantheon of seemingly impossible athletic achievements, DeJuan Blair's NBA career stands alone. Blair played 7 NBA seasons from 2009 to 2016 with teams including the San Antonio Spurs, Dallas Mavericks, and Washington Wizards, and he did it all without anterior cruciate ligaments in either knee. To understand the magnitude of this achievement, one must first understand the crucial role that ACLs play in athletic performance. These ligaments provide stability to the knee joint, preventing the tibia from sliding forward relative to the femur and helping to maintain rotational stability during cutting movements. For basketball players who must constantly change direction, jump, land, and pivot, the ACLs are quite literally the foundation upon which their athletic careers are built. Blair lost his ACLs due to surgical removals following high school injuries, leaving him to compete at the highest level of basketball with a fundamental anatomical disadvantage that would have ended most careers before they began. The fact that he not only made it to the NBA, but carved out a 7-year career as a power forward and center is nothing short of miraculous. Blair's approach to his unique situation was characteristically straightforward and focused. During his time with the San Antonio Spurs, he demonstrated the kind of practical wisdom that made his unlikely career possible. When asked about his dramatic weight loss,
Probably about 15 pounds, 20 pounds.
His commitment to maintaining his physical condition was absolute, understanding that without ACLs, every extra pound would place additional stress on his compromised knee joints. His dietary approach was methodical and sustainable.
I just eat salads, a lot of, I don't know if y'all know MyFit. It's MyFit, it's a store around here. I just eat a lot of, eat a lot of little portions of a lot of things from there, and you'll be great. Portions, keep your metabolism up, and drink a lot of water, no juice. No Whataburger with strawberry Fanta.
Blair's dedication extended beyond his own performance to his team's success. Blair, quote, playing style relied heavily on strength and positioning rather than the explosive movements that typically require ACL stability. He developed an almost supernatural understanding of leverage and body positioning, using technique and basketball IQ to compensate for what his knees could no longer provide. Basketball fans and medical professionals alike have marveled at Blair's ability to compete at an NBA level without ACLs, with many noting that he was still capable of powerful dunks and aggressive rebounding despite his anatomical limitations. His career serves as perhaps the most extreme example of adaptation and determination, overcoming seemingly insurmountable physical obstacles. Let's now tell you about the pioneer in NBA history who saw through one eye. Fred Scolari. In the early days of professional basketball, when the NBA was still finding its identity and establishing the standards that would define the sport for generations to come, Fred Scolari was quietly blazing trails that few people fully understood at the time. Playing in the league from 1946 to 1955, Scolari competed at the highest level while being legally blind in one eye and dealing with hearing issues caused by a perforated eardrum. The 1940s and 1950s were a vastly different era in professional sports. Medical understanding of athletic performance was primitive compared to today's standards, and the concept of accommodating disabilities was virtually non-existent. Players were expected to compete regardless of their physical limitations, and those who couldn't keep up simply didn't make it. Against this backdrop, Scolari's achievements become even more remarkable. He became a two-time All-Star with the Washington Capitals and other teams, averaging 12.6 points over 9 seasons. Impressive numbers for any player of that era, let alone one dealing with significant visual and auditory impairments. Basketball, particularly in Scolari's era, required exceptional court vision and spatial awareness. Players needed to track the ball, their teammates, opponents, and the constantly shifting dynamics of the game while making split-second decisions. Doing this with compromised vision in one eye would have required an almost supernatural level of adaptation and compensation. Similarly, communication was crucial even in the earlier, less complex era of basketball. Players needed to hear defensive calls, offensive plays, and the constant chatter that helps teams coordinate their efforts. Scolari's perforated eardrum affected his hearing, yet he found ways to stay connected with his teammates and remain effective on the court. Historical basketball discussions often note Scolari's toughness and determination, with many considering him a forgotten pioneer who helped establish that heart and determination could overcome physical limitations. His career laid important groundwork for future players who would face their own physical challenges, proving that excellence could be achieved through adaptation and sheer force of will. Scolari's story is particularly poignant because it occurred during an era when players received little support for dealing with disabilities. There were no specialized training programs, no advanced medical interventions, and certainly no public awareness campaigns. He succeeded purely through his own ingenuity and refusal to accept limitations. And finally, Chris Wright. Multiple sclerosis is a particularly cruel disease for an athlete. MS is an autoimmune condition that affects the central nervous system, attacking the brain and spinal cord, and its effects can vary dramatically from person to person and day to day. For someone whose livelihood depends on precise motor control, coordination, and split-second decision-making, an MS diagnosis would typically signal the end of their athletic career. When Chris Wright received his diagnosis in 2012, he was already trying to establish himself in professional basketball. He had played briefly for the Dallas Mavericks from 2011 to 2013 and was competing in the G League, fighting for every opportunity to prove he belonged at the highest level of the sport. The individualized nature of MS meant that Wright's journey would be unlike anyone else's.
Yes, living with MS has been a journey for me. It's been a whirlwind of emotions. It's been a lot of trial and error, but it's also been extremely rewarding in the simple fact that I had a goal that I was set out to accomplish, and I accomplished that goal. And it was a lot of obstacles and barriers that were in my way trying to accomplish my goal.
What makes Wright's story so inspiring is not just that he continued to play after his diagnosis, but that he actually regained his ability to compete at a professional level after intensive therapy. His return to professional basketball became a symbol of hope for others facing similar diagnoses, proving that with proper medical care and unwavering determination, even progressive neurological conditions need not end athletic dreams immediately. Wright's advocacy for MS awareness has become an important part of his legacy, as he uses his platform to educate others about the condition and provide hope to those facing their own battles with chronic illness. His story demonstrates that sometimes the greatest victories happen not on the scoreboard, but in the inspiration provided to others facing seemingly impossible odds. The courage required to continue competing while knowing that each game might be affected by unpredictable symptoms cannot be overstated. Wright's journey represents one of the most remarkable examples of athletic perseverance in the face of a progressive medical condition. Which NBA story inspired you the most? Let me know in the comments below and click on the cards on screen for more.